Moving on to page 49, our 6th out of 6 triad types. We're on the way home, ladies and gents. And this one ought to make a lot of sense because all these things that you came up with before are going to play into this. The augmented chord has a dissonant, unstable, or tense sound. Kind of feels eerie, dreamlike. It uses the first, third, and augmented fifth. I'm going to put sharp 5 because augmented goes up, diminished goes down, sharps go up, flats go down. But every time you write this out, sharp 5, or somebody says, well, but it's not a sharp 5, it's an aug 5. But in general practice, you're going to call it a sharp 5 most of the time. And you're going to write it as a sharp 5 most of the time. So if you recall, in the triad right before this, the diminished was composed of a minor third on top of a minor third. Right? So this one, if you're thinking about it, gives us the remaining part of the formula that we haven't done. Now it's a major third on top of a major third. How many half steps in a major third?
4.
Are we sure about that?
No.
How many half steps in a major third? Anybody? 4 is the right answer. Thank you, Jenny, for being so serious with it. 4 half steps. Okay. So, give me a random note, Paul. Any note?
D.
D is a good one. We're going to start with D. Daniel Barkley, major third above D. Because I see you falling asleep, so I'm catching you. You must be a guitar player because he answered it. He went like this. He was like, well, is it? Did you say G sharp? No, it's actually F sharp. Okay, now think about the D major scale. D, E, F sharp, G, A, D, E, F sharp. So F sharp is the major third above D. Now remember last module we were looking at intervals. So forget the fact that we're in D for a second. What's a major third above F sharp? I just wrote with Bobby the F sharp major scale. 1, 2, 3, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, right? So a major third above F sharp is A sharp. Boom, boom. Now here's where it gets fun. You got 4 half steps here. You got 4 half steps there. The total is 8 half steps, which is called what? G flat. I'm looking for an interval name. What's 8 half steps? Now there's 12 half steps in an octave. Minor 6th, Brett wins the prize. Can somebody please hand him back the blue bowl of candy? Oh, yes. We got Reese's going on. Nice. Now according to what nice. That was good. You had good form with that. You should consider. You played a lot of basketball, right? Now Brett said minor 6th. A minor 6th is what we call 8 half steps. Now, according to the rules of the form, though, a minor 6th isn't quite the right name. According to what we've learned so far, Brett wins the prize. But if we start with D, and we just count the letters, D, E, F, G, A, B, 6 is a B something. So it can't be a 5 something. A's got to be a 5 something for D. D, E, F, G, A. It's got to be an A something. So 8 half steps, you are right, my friend. It's totally called a minor 6, except in this situation, when we would be better to call it an augmented fifth. Okay? Because an augmented fifth is this. It's a sharp 5. So technically, a minor 6 can be also known as an augmented fifth. However, in day-to-day practice, you don't really use augmented fifth as an interval. You'll say an augmented chord. In day-to-day practice, you won't think of the interval augmented fifth as an interval. If you're thinking intervals, you're going to say minor 6th. 99% of the time in day-to-day music making. Okay? So it's only in the theory of figuring out what the chords are that you would call this an augmented fifth as an interval. Okay? But if you wrote down on a test minor 6th, I'd give you credit, because in day-to-day music making, it's an augmented chord that has these different intervals involved that we would call it an augmented fifth in theory land. In day-to-day music making, hey man, go up a minor 6th. Nobody ever says, hey man, go up an augmented fifth. They're like, what? What is that again from theory class from 20 years ago? Nobody says that. Okay? Technically, it's an augmented fifth. But minor sixth counts. Okay? So we worked long and hard on making these nice little diagrams here in the middle so that you could go from page to page and try to compare and contrast the 6 triads. I hope you appreciate the hard work. Going on to the next page, let's build some augmented triads. Who hasn't been talking much lately? Mr. Moore, perhaps? Grant? Bobby just outed you, dude. She just outed you. And I just outed Bobby. 1, 3, and sharp 5. You know what? I'm going to give you a break and go. Shoot. I'm going to give you a break and go with Grant. Grant. On our first column, we have F-aug, but it's also in the page before that, so I don't want to give it away. Let's go to the second column, D-aug. Let's make a D-augmented triad. Grant, you happen to know the D major scale off the top of your head? What? D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. Excellent. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 scale degrees. Now, if we're going to make a D augmented chord, what's the root? Yes. If we're going to make a D augmented chord, what's the third?
F sharp.
F sharp is the right answer. Now, here's where it changes, because so far it's just looked like a major chord, right? But now we got to shift. We're going to take the fifth. We're going to sharp it. Fifth scale degrees here. What note do we want? A sharp is the correct answer. If somebody said B flat, then we'd go back through the whole rigmarole of the system and the B's and the 5s and the 6s. Right? A sharp is the more appropriate answer. Yeah? Yay! Grant gets a candy, but the bowl's right in front of him, and he could probably cheat and get several, and nobody would notice. So somebody keep track. Bethany, I haven't called on you all night because for some reason I've got your son as replacing you in all of this. So I'm going to give you an easy one. Column number 3 is a C augmented. By the way, the plus symbol, which we're going to get into, means augmented. Okay? Just went out of order, so note to self. Do symbology before building. Okay, so can you give me the C major scale? I couldn't make it more easy. Yes, ma'am. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Building the augmented chord, what's the root? Yep, what's the third? Now, what's the sharp fifth, or augmented fifth? G sharp is the right answer. There's your answer. That's a C augmented triad. Yeah? I'm not seeing the whites behind your eyes, but I think you're getting it. We are right on the home stretch of this overly long module. Let's build 2 more. Let's go with the E plus, or E augmented. I'm going to go with Alex Morales. You've been silent over there for a little while. So what's the E major scale? Do you happen to know? Or you can tell. It's open book. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp. How much of that was your head or how much of that was open book? Half in your head.
I knew that it was 4 sharps.
Excellent. He said he knew it was 4 sharps, but he wasn't quite sure he had an open book. I don't mind open book. Okay, let's build it, bro. E augmented root is?
So it is E.
E is the right answer. G sharp. B sharp. Here we go again. Notice that this whole issue keeps happening whenever we move the fifth around. Right? And of our 6 triads, the diminished and the augmented are by far the least used. You could go through your entire life and never play either of those chords, potentially. I would say in my music making, that in general, if it's pop and if it's rock and kind of those kind of standard music, I might use either of those chords about 1% of the time. So you got 6 triads, 2 of them get used like 1 or 2%. You get into jazz, it's all the time. You get into modern contemporary orchestral music and classical music, it's a bunch and so forth. Country hardly, but yeah, country every once in a while, but very rarely, okay? So don't let this get you too bogged down. You really need to understand the principles. But day-to-day music making, the Beatles hardly ever did anything outside of major and minor. And they changed the world with their sound. We can too. With the inspiration of the Holy Spirit and understanding of the fundamentals of the system of sound that God put in our ears and man's attempt to categorize it by creating music theory, 12-tone Western music, we can actually change the world with our sound, with these building blocks. It's within us to do it, us and the Holy Spirit co-creating something brand new.